Well, Jenny, thank you so much for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. I'm really glad we're finally getting to do this. But listen, before we go any further, why don't I hand over to you so you can introduce yourself to the audience and tell us what you do?
Sure. Thank you, Henry. I'm so happy to chat with everyone. My name is Jenny Belanger. I am a wife and mom to two kids and a dog, and I live outside of Boston, Massachusetts. I own Jenny B Design. So we are a web design studio. We work with female CEOs who are really ready to take the next step and level up their online presence. And we do this by building strategic, but also really beautiful websites that are designed to book ideal clients and make them money.
Yes. And this is why I'm so excited, because you've got a ton of tips that you're going to give us today. And I'm really excited to hear all about them because, hey, we can never stop learning. Okay. I'm always up for learning something new, especially when it comes to websites, etc. But before we go into that, tell us a little bit about your story. How did you become a website designer and what made you decide to start your own business then?
Yeah, okay. So my background is in the nonprofit marketing world, in the nonprofit realm. And it's funny, I studied abroad. I was actually just telling you this before we went live. And when I was over there, this was like back in the 2000s, I wanted to find a way to share my travels with my family back home without having to go to the email cafe and send a million emails. And so I learned how to design a website back when you used to have to code and so to share my travels and my stories. And I really fell in love with designing websites. So I started working with my nonprofit clients. And eventually, when my son was born, I decided to focus on it full time. And it kind of grew to expand to the entrepreneurial world and kind of women like myself. There's a lot of similarities between the nonprofit world and entrepreneurship. You kind of have to do it all. You know, you wear so many hats. And so I really love helping others really develop their online presence and just make them shine and know that their website is working for them 24/7 to make money for them.
Yeah. And I love how your travels kind of, how can I say, insinuated that. We were like, oh, this is something I'm
Yeah.
actually enjoying on top of everything else that I'm enjoying doing. And that
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
grew from there. It's really, really interesting. And I love how you put the two and two together because, yes, I think, when it comes to having a website, whether you're in the nonprofit industry or whether you're a business owner, there's a lot of commonalities there because at the end of the day, you are still selling something. And let's face it, I think, especially in the online world as it is today, I read a crazy statistic the other day, and I might get this wrong now because I can't remember the exact figures, but they said there's something like 4,000 sometimes even websites being created every 2 days. And I was just, whoa, now I don't know where the statistic is. So please forgive me. I am talking hypothetically speaking here. Otherwise, I would have made reference to it. But I was just like, that is crazy. So many websites being created. No wonder we're so inundated and wondering, oh my gosh, how do I need to stand out? What do I need to do? But yeah, I love your story and I love the tips that you're going to give us today. So let's start off with that. You've got 5 tips that you're going to give us in how to make sure that we utilize and get our website up and running. So it's becoming a real moneymaker for us in a sense. And from your perspective, what would those tips be? And let's go through them one at a time and talk them through a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So first, I think it's the most important tip of all. You want to make sure when someone lands on your site that they know that they're in the right place. And
Mm.
I don't know what the latest statistic is. I always say you have less than 3 seconds. It's probably even shorter to capture someone's attention. So you immediately, when someone gets on your website, want to make it clear who you are, what you do, how you help, and then how someone can take that next step with you. I think if you get something right, you need to focus on that for today. That's like the biggest thing that will make or break your website, in my opinion.
Oh my goodness. So how would you suggest people do that? Or what would you suggest people then look at if you can just kind of finesse that a little bit more?
I would say, I always suggest, I work with a lot of service providers, having a photo of yourself when someone lands on your site. You know, you are the face of your brand.
Yeah.
And so, you want to build that know, like, and trust factor. So having a picture of you and then 2 sentences that go along with that, kind of your tagline, who you help, your brand promise, and then a little one sentence statement. If you, for example, for you, you're a business coach, a strategic business coach, and then who you work with, your clientele. The I help statement is a great example, but you want to make sure that it's really clear and concise and no more than 2 sentences when you land on the site.
Yeah, brilliant. Because like you say, it's less than 3 seconds for people to know whether they're in the right place or not. So that's really important.
Yeah.
What about, and this is just from my own experience, what about having a lead magnet at the top of your website? So when people fall on your website, that would be one of the first things they see as well. How would you feel about that? And what are your opinions on that?
Well, actually, it's funny that you asked that. The second, I'm gonna mention my second tip, and then I'm
Sure,
gonna come
by all
back to that
means,
answer. Okay.
go for it.
So the second tip is understanding the overall goal of your website. Why do
Mm,
you have that website, right? So for some service providers, myself included, my goal is to have someone book a consultation call. That's the
yeah,
first step in my process. But some other people, what their goal might be is to build their email list. That's what they're trying to do. And that's where that freebie comes into play,
yeah.
right? So when someone lands on your website, is that the overall goal of your website? And if so, then I think that would be a good case study to have that at the top, having your freebie as that landing.
Okay, well, that's really interesting because, I've heard so many other people having different views about it. So I'm always intrigued to hear how people are feeling about it and what their experience of it is. Personally, for me, I've got a lead magnet at the top in the header of my website. So no matter which page people land on, the freebie is always there and they can go download it because it's part of my strategy to grow my email list. So just like you say, that was the goal for me and it plays out. It works beautifully. So
Right.
from the second tip, then, what is the third tip that you want to give us?
The third tip is that understanding the overall goal, ensuring that your navigation is really clear and
Yeah.
concise and represents that goal. We'll go back to my service provider example because that's a lot of people I work with. I always suggest navigation 5 items or less. Typically,
Mm,
I say a work with me, a services option, and about a contact, and then like the button, the call to action, whether it be a book a call, fill out the form. If you have a blog or resources, that could also be an additional option, but no more than 5. And sometimes there are people who have more than one service. So to keep it 5 and under, consider using drop downs. You want to
yeah.
make sure that it falls under services and then you have your different services there. You don't want to overwhelm people when they look at the navigation. You want it really clear and concise. And if you haven't already removed the home as an option, that's definitely something that you can do. Every time you remove an item, what's left becomes more prominent. And people know when they click your logo that they're taken back home. So if it's up in your navigation, remove it and then one less item for people to kind of figure out what to do next.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting because that took me some time personally. I can only talk for myself here. I don't know about everybody else, but I remember when I started building my website and I was very proud of it. Oh my gosh, let's not even start into how ugly it looked. But hey, I built my first website and I still had that home page there up to a point where I saw that other people don't have a home page little tab navigation at the top. And I was like, oh, so what does that mean? And that made me realize that, of course, when you click on people's logos or when you click on that, little item on the top left-hand corner, which most of them are, then obviously that takes you straight back to the home. So that made a lot of sense as well. But it's interesting that you're saying a maximum of 5 navigations or little tabs there, because I was always wondering, what is kind of like the rule of thumb here? Because I've seen a lot of people have very strict tabs and then some have so many tabs and I know it's immediately overwhelming as well. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I think that's a great guideline for a lot of people as well.
Yeah, less is more. It's kind of my motto for sure.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the fourth tip that you want to give us? I'm loving all these tips. I think it's great.
Yeah. So the fourth tip I would say is include some beautiful photos of yourself as the face of the business. Many times I work with clients who design their own website or in the beginning stages. Now they've come to me because they've been in business and they're ready to kind of take it to the next level.
Yeah.
But you'll see that they maybe were, a little afraid to use photos of themselves throughout their site, and they didn't understand the impact that it has. But I truly believe, you are the face of your business. You want to build that know, like, and trust factor, and having some really beautiful branded photos of yourself in action or with clients helps build that credibility. And it doesn't even have to be a professional photo shoot. I mean, we all walk around with our iPhones. Our iPhones are capable of taking some pretty amazing pictures. Just putting something together that really showcases you and the love you have of your work, and representing that on screen is really important.
Yeah, that's very true. I still see sometimes, in particular when I work with some of my clients, that they're still very scared of visibility, putting themselves out there. And I think this is a little bit where the confusion also comes in. It's like, but if I have a business brand, do I still need to show my face in there? If I have a personal brand, of course I need to show my face in there, but there's still a little bit of a uncertainty as to how many pictures to put in there. So I do agree with you, whether it's a business brand or a personal brand, you still need to show your face, because that's where people kind of connect with you and build that relationship on.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are that business brand, doesn't have to be when someone lands, but I would say shortly thereafter, at least on the homepage, is talking about you as the founder. We really do connect when we see other faces.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that leads us to the fifth tip, which is the final one. What would this be?
Yes, I would say leave no dead ends. And what that means is understanding the overall goal of your website, like we talked about, and making sure that when someone gets to the bottom of your page, they're scrolling through that big, long, beautiful page, that there's no dead end, that you're leading them to the next step in their customer journey. So if it were to book a consultation call with you, when someone's at the end of your homepage, the next page you probably want them to read is the work together page, learn about your services. And at the bottom of that page, you probably want to guide them to the consultation call. So just understanding the journey and making sure that there are no dead ends throughout your entire site. And it just goes for a great user experience and keeps people on your site, directing them to what you want them to do, and eventually helping you make money with your website.
Okay. See, that's really interesting, because I never thought about it that way. I have some call to actions on my site, but I never thought about at the end of the page, what is that next step that you wanted to take them on? So that's really interesting. And from your, how can I say, from your perspective, from your experience, would that be then, as an example, your main call to action, or would that be to take them onto another page?
Goes back to your main goal, right? So what is
Yeah.
your overall objective of the site? I think that's the most important thing to remember. You're going to have these smaller calls to action, and there are other things you'll probably want people to do. For example, I have a website personality quiz on my site, and that's a secondary thing that I want people to do. But my primary goal is to get them to book that consultation call.
Yeah.
So understanding what's primary and what's secondary and going through that journey.
Okay. No, that's really interesting. I love how you're putting it all together. So these are great 5 tips. I'm just quickly going to recap on them again, just so everybody who's making some notes, has been very good. Obviously, just to know again and just to go back to them. So the first one is about grabbing that attention. People coming to you, you need to grab their attention within the first 3 seconds, so they obviously know who you are and what it is that you're doing. The second thing, which we spoke about quite a few times here, is the goal. What is the goal of your website? And that goal needs to be very clear from the beginning. So whatever that goal might be for your website, make sure that you've got a call to action to follow that. Third thing, navigation. So we spoke about the little tabs at the top, and Jenny kindly said here, 5 is the max, kind of like a nice kind of way to think about this. And then think about, if you have more tabs than that, to have them in a little drop down as well, including something where you offer more than one service, have them underneath each other in the drop down. Photos of you. Oh my gosh, so important. I agree with Jenny 100%. Have some photos of you, whether you're a branded business or whether you're a personal brand. It doesn't matter. It's just so important for people to build that relationship with you. And the best way to do it is just by adding some beautiful pictures of you. Whether you get them taken by a professional or whether you just do it with your phone, it doesn't matter. And then the last thing, no dead ends, which is a big aha moment for me, is again, coming back to that goal. When you get to the bottom of that page or of your home page, what is that goal that you want people? What is that next step that you want people to take? Make sure that that's available there as well. So did I get that kind of correctly, or did I miss anything
Yeah,
out?
yeah. No, that was perfect. Yeah, great
Excellent.
summary.
Excellent. Okay, well, I'm listening, so I'm definitely taking some notes. Now, apart from these 5 tips, you've got 3 quick wins, 3 quick tips in addition, that you can give us almost, whereby we can implement it into our websites ourselves, just to help us a little bit more with the conversion rate on this. So what would those quick wins be then from your point of view?
Okay, so the first one relates to dead ends. If you look at your home page, because this is the most important page, scroll down to the bottom and tell me, look at it and what is the action? Are you asking them to take the next step? If you're not, just add in a quick button, take the next step to learn about my services, or take the next step to fill out a form. Just adding a button, the next step, so there's no dead end on your home page, is a great thing that you could do very easily today.
Oh my gosh, I'm definitely going to do that. And
Oh.
what about the second quick win then?
So the second quick win would be in the footer. So this also pertains to dead ends. If you don't already have a scroll to top button, and by that I mean sometimes you'll see the words back to top, or sometimes you'll see an arrow pointing up. That is a really easy add to your footer, usually on the right-hand side, that someone can just click and they're taken all the way back to the top of the page that they're on, and then they can continue their journey from there. This kind of relates back to the streamlined navigation, just having simple options at the top. So if someone can just be at the bottom, scroll back to the top very easily, they can continue on their way. So that's another way to reduce those dead ends throughout your site all at once from the footer.
Oh my gosh, it's like you're meant to be here with me because she's talking directly my language. As you were saying that, I was like, I don't have that. I need to look into that.
It's an easy
Honestly.
fix.
Oh, well, that's the case. You say it's an easy fix. I'm like, how the heck do I get that on? Well, I guess these days, a lot of people are using templates, and templates tend to have those on as well. It's when you start customizing websites and things like that, that's where you've kind of got to think about this. Unless they work with experts like yourself, and then you just do it for them, which is even easier.
Yeah, or a lot of page builders, a lot of people use page builders, and there's usually a widget that you could just pop in there that's back to top, and then you can get that added.
Okay, well, maybe I'll look at that. Maybe there is a widget there for me. Okay, so what is the final quick win that you want to give us here today so we can go and implement it into our websites?
The final thing, go to your contact page, and I suggest you could pop in a picture of yourself. So someone goes to your contact page, they're getting ready to contact you, they see your happy, smiling face, and it makes them really excited to contact you. And it'll increase your conversions, the amount of people who actually fill out your contact form. And that's an easy fix as well, just pop in a picture.
Okay, brilliant. Well, this is interesting because I've normally seen people trying to be a little bit too creative and popping in other pictures and emojis or weird things in there in order to get people to take that call to action. But I think that's a very simple and easy thing to do, is to add another picture of yourself in there. I guess that's part of the relationship building, isn't it? When people are going to contact you, they've already felt that, hey, I want to take this next step. So they are more than likely to do that if they see another picture of you. How many pictures of yourself can you put on your website?
I know it seems like a lot, but it really isn't. When someone is going through the journey, like, they're not counting how many pictures of you they see. It's just the feeling and experience that they have when they see your face throughout the site.
Yeah, no, definitely. And remember, everybody, this goes back to what we said, whether you've got a branded business or a personal brand, Same thing applies. Okay. Oh my gosh, Jenny, I love these tips that you're giving us. There's so much going on here, and I'm sure everybody's making notes like crazy at the moment. But before we go, you've got an amazing quiz, which you've mentioned earlier for everybody, which is absolutely free. What is this quiz all about, and how can they get to it?
Yeah, I love this quiz. I just built it last month with the help of one of a writers that I work with, and it's learning about your website personality. There are 4 different personalities that I've encountered, and understanding what your personality is and how you can bring it to life on your current website to make more money in your business. It's
Mm.
super fun, and you can get to it if you go to jennyb-designs /podcast, or even on my homepage. I have it throughout the site, and it's free, and it's really, really fun. And if you do take it, I'd love to hear what you think about your results and what you're planning to implement from the
Oh my
guide.
gosh. And why not? We all love a good quiz in order to find out a
Yeah.
little bit more, especially when it comes to our personality. So, yes. So, if you want to know what your website personality is, then by all means, go to Jenny's link, which I'll have down below in the show notes. Go and click on it and do the quiz, and you might just even surprise yourself. And in addition to that, if you want to get in contact with Jenny, learn a little bit more about how she can help you, I'll have also a link there of her website in my show notes, and you can also catch up with her on Instagram. So by all means, just connect with her there. Make sure that you reach out if you have any questions. I'm sure she'd be more than happy to have a chat with you and have some fun with a quiz while you're at it. But oh my goodness, Jenny, I can just say thank you so much. You know, you've given so many great tips here. And I find that I was thinking, gosh, how are we going to explain this to the audience? We need to be very clear because I know not a lot of people are very techy. But you were just so brilliant. Just everything is so clear and simple. And I think everybody's just going to take it and run with it. So amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Henriette. I had a great time chatting with everyone, and I hope someone does something today to increase their conversions on their website.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you and I am going to be in touch very soon again. And I really appreciate your time coming here. And for those of you listening or watching this video, go and get in touch with Jenny. She's the girl. She's going to help you get that conversion on your website.